We are here today with Dr. Julia Brody at Silent Spring Institute in Newton, Mass. Dr. Brody, it's a pleasure to speak to you today. Would you please tell us a little bit, or a lot, about yourself and your work?
I'm the director of Silent Spring Institute. I've been here more than 10 years, which has been one of the most meaningful opportunities of my life, to work on something that's really important to me. It's funny to think about when I first came here, a friend of mine who was job hunting saw the posting for the director position in the Globe and called me up and said, "You need to do this." And my friends and neighbors were just so supportive, and everyone knows someone who's been affected by cancer, and especially by breast cancer. It's something that's close to every family. And treatment, of course, is important, but prevention would be a much better answer. So the opportunity to work on breast cancer prevention has just been something very meaningful for me. In my own family, my dad died of pancreatic cancer when he was 48, and he had worked at a nuclear facility. I don't know, of course, whether that caused his cancer, but it did cause me to think about the importance of everyday people becoming involved in science, understanding technology, and thinking about the way technology is changing our world in ways that could affect our health. So the founders of Silent Spring Institute, of just really visionary women, took this on in the case of breast cancer. They saw that breast cancer incidence was higher on Cape Cod than in the rest of the state, and they started looking for answers and founded Silent Spring Institute to really look into it in detail.
Now these women are the Cape Cod women, Cheryl Osimo, right?
Cheryl Osimo, but there were leaders from all around the state, actually. It wasn't just Cape Cod women who became involved.
And these women are the ones who founded the Silent Spring Institute?
Yes.
So it was not founded by any scientists, it was just founded by everyday women who have come together, realizing that there is something wrong in the area?
They realized that there must be some reason. There's no obvious reason why women at higher risk of breast cancer would suddenly move to Cape Cod. So that raised the question about whether there's something about Cape Cod that's contributing to breast cancer risk. So they got together themselves, and then they contacted scientists and they began to put together a team, a multidisciplinary team. They didn't want to just have epidemiologists or just have toxicologists, so they really worked to integrate across the sciences.
I see. Now, how was the study funded?
Initially, the study was funded by the state of Massachusetts. Their legislative leaders on Cape Cod took the lead in getting funding from the state. Now it's funded by some federal grants and foundations and many private donors. A very substantial portion of our budget comes from individual people who have decided that this is important to them.
That's incredible. Now, what exactly was the CCBCE study, and is it still ongoing?
The Cape Cod Breast Cancer and Environment Study won't be done until we figure out why breast cancer incidence is higher on Cape Cod and make it go down. So we consider it ongoing. It began in 1994 with a period of scoping out the problem. Since then, we have clearly documented that breast cancer incidence is higher on Cape Cod, and that the evidence shows that it's not due to more mammography or women with a family history of breast cancer or other breast cancer risk factors or in-migration from other places. Women who've lived longer on Cape Cod have significantly higher breast cancer risk than those who've lived there for a shorter period of time.
Now, what is the cause? Have you found out what the cause is? Is it environmental?
The evidence suggests that there is some environmental factor, but we don't really know yet what it is. We know that breast cancer has many different factors involved. So we're not really looking for one smoking gun like smoking and lung cancer. We're looking for a variety of causes. we focused our research on chemicals that can mimic estrogen because we know estrogen is an established breast cancer risk factor. So estrogen mimics are in very common products. They're in detergents, plastics, cosmetics, building materials. So we looked specifically at pesticides, which had been used quite substantially on the Cape, and we looked at drinking water contaminants because on Cape Cod, to protect the marine coastland, wastes are disposed inland, and they can leach through the sandy soils into groundwater, which is the drinking water supply. So we know there's a history of wastewater contamination of drinking water on Cape Cod. I'm really proud that our team was the first to actually measure estrogenic activity in groundwater. We did find that there were some endocrine disrupting compounds, that's chemicals that affect hormones, in some private drinking water wells. And we're continuing to test drinking water to learn more about that. We also tested 120 homes for 87 different endocrine disrupting compounds. It's amazing to think about how little we know about the chemicals we're exposed to every day. So this was a comprehensive effort to find out what some of the hormonally active pollutants are that are in our home.
Could you explain a little bit more what are these estrogen mimics and why are they so dangerous? What do they do? This was a question I thought of in the shower. I would like to know, what do these things do to cause cancer? Do they, you explained a little bit about them disrupting the hormones?
Well, scientists are learning more and more about chemicals that can affect hormones. Our colleagues, Anna Soto and Carlos Sonnenschein, have been real leaders in this. They're researchers at Tufts University. And they were doing they were doing breast cancer research where they were growing breast cancer cells in their lab, and they found they were growing unexpectedly. And over years found out that this was due to some estrogen mimics leaching from the plastics in their lab. So we've now learned that there are a number of synthetic chemicals that can interact with the estrogen receptor and make it act as if it were exposed to natural estrogen. So we know that breast cancer cells can be signaled to grow by estrogen. So the question is, what happens when they're exposed to these synthetic estrogens from consumer products or pollution? And the hypothesis is that they may make a tumor grow.
Now, did you meet with any resistance by other researchers or chemical companies like Rachel Carson did in '62, or are they fully behind you?
We've found the residents of Cape Cod enormously supportive. I must say that whenever we publish our research in scientific journals, we hear from the chemical companies who produce the chemicals that we're studying. The imbalance in resources to investigate the possible health effects is stunning. The amount of money going to invent new chemotherapies, which are of course important, is enormous compared with the amount of money going to test chemicals that we're putting into use every day and really don't know what they do.
That would have been my next question. Do you believe the government is doing enough in terms of research into cancer prevention by determining causes? Or